Good morning and welcome. You are watching live and breaking on Republic TV. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. We begin with what we are getting as the inside details of the US strike that killed Ayman al-Zawahiri in the heart of Kabul. Now, what we are given to understand is that the weapon that was used was a Hellfire missile, but this was improvised over the standard Hellfire with a kinetic warhead and pop-out blades instead of an explosive. That's why also it's called the Flying Jinsu. Now, intended of course to reduce collateral damage when aiming specifically at human targets. That's why it eliminated Zawahiri when he was standing in his balcony, and others in the compound were not hit. So these are details that are now emerging in terms of what went into the taking down of al-Zawahiri. Just to recap the details, we heard earlier this morning that Ayman al-Zawahiri, the number 2 at the Al-Qaeda, was killed in a missile strike in the heart of Kabul. Now, this home where he was staying was just about 1.5 kilometers away from the Pakistan as well as the US embassies. What is being talked of course, is the precision airstrike that was made using a drone. Niranjan is also joining us right now. Niranjan, what we are learning right now is that this appears to be an improvised version of the standard Hellfire with a kinetic warhead.
Well, you know, there's so many details that are now emerging, Nupur. I'd like to also go across to my colleague Shersha Nawabi. Shersha Nawabi has been reporting for us from Afghanistan. I'm trying to check if we have Shersha Nawabi, one of the most reliable reporters in Afghanistan, been working with us through the entire Kabul coverage, the takeover of Kabul. And Shersha is live with me from an undisclosed location. Shersha himself had a threat to his life during this entire, switch in Afghanistan. So Republic is live from Kabul. Shersha, we're picking up these extremely critical details of Zawahiri's location and where he was eliminated. What are you picking up, and how close was it to the heart of Kabul? Shersha.
Yeah, thank you so much. As you said, yesterday there was an incident that took place, and according to the information that I have got from the sources in Kabul, this incident has taken place in an area which is almost 2 kilometers away from the presidential palace of Afghanistan, where the Prime Minister of Taliban is based. So this incident has taken place in an area that in the past it was completely diplomatic and green zone. But now, after that, the Taliban has taken the control of Afghanistan. They have got those guest houses that belongs to the foreigners and also to the diplomats, and instead of those foreigners, Al-Qaeda members are based in there. So it shows that the Taliban are misusing the world commitments against them, and also they are giving shelters to the Al-Qaeda group.
I'm putting sign.
Oh yes, absolutely. Now, any more details that you can share with us in terms of the weapon that was used, as well as talk of the fact that perhaps the Taliban may have been divided over this?
Dear colleague, as you said, in this attack, actually US has used its most high-tech technology, which is the drone attack. And also, Zabihullah Mujahid, the spokesperson of Taliban, has also confirmed this incident, that this attack has taken place by a drone, and they have condemned this attack. At the meantime, the Interior Ministry spokesperson has said that this incident was just a rocket attack in Sherpur, and there was no casualty reported because there was no one in that house. So generally, at this moment, this difference between the organizations and government institutions in Kabul shows that the Taliban are divided so much on this issue, and they have lost everything that they had. Also, the commitment that they were giving to the world in the past 11 months that we are not supporting the international terrorists, including Al-Qaeda. It has created a new environment and also a new phase of relationship between Taliban and also the world. So possibly, some of my sources say that this attack and also this incident can harm the relations of the Taliban, and also it can increase the sanctions on the group. At the meantime, this incident may put more pressure on the group to somehow take a clear stand against the international terrorists in Afghanistan.
Right now, what we also understand is that the Haqqani Network is supposed to have been behind moving him back into Kabul, and that happened about 11 months ago. So what are you hearing on that part of it?
Take the windows.
Well, there are some unconfirmed reports that I have got from different sources. They are claiming that Ayman al-Zawahiri was transferred to Kabul and he was given shelter in this guest house that mainly belongs to the Interior Minister Salahuddin Haqqani. And also there are some unclear reports that in this incident two PA or personal assistants of Salahuddin Haqqani has been also killed. So it's clear that Haqqani has a clear relations with Al-Qaeda from the past, and these ties has created a new era and after taking power in Kabul. My sources also say that in this incident, they have also witnessed this issue that currently Salahuddin Haqqani, the Interior Ministry of Islamic Emirat, is not on his duty, and also it shows that probably he has also gone away from Kabul and he has gone to one of his hideouts.
Okay. Now we are hearing that there was a possible role of Pakistan as well, and Pakistan will also sort of have to be a little responsible for what has happened here. We are hearing that the Haqqani group's role is also under scanner. Can you confirm or tell us more about the role of the Haqqani group and the possible role of Pakistan in shielding Al-Zawahiri? Now we know that Pakistan has been extremely active in Afghanistan, especially post the Taliban takeover. Of course, things may not have been all right at the border, but you've been tracking the story and you know the role that Pakistan plays here.
Well, in this regard, I don't have any clue to say that there was a major fact or there was some kind of discloseness about this issue. But what I can say is that this incident has taken place, and there is no doubt that several groups that in the past they were mainly recognized as an terror group, they have turned to power, and it extremely shows that now they are going to rebuild their relations and ties with the international terrorists, and several sources claim that they have already made these ties and also in these relationships. So killing of Ayman al-Zawahiri in Kabul indicates that, well, the ties were so deepened, and also once again the Taliban were looking to change the environment and also share the power with their international partners from different countries who are mainly terror groups. So it's a clear sign that his killing would bring a new phase in war against terror and also in the relations between the Taliban and the world.
Yeah, just stay with me. I think we have Dr. Raghav Sharma and also Augustine, Group Captain Augustine Vinod joining us on the broadcast. Nupur, as we get more breaking news updates. In fact, we are told we are picking up some details of how he was taken down. Around sunrise Sunday, Al-Zawahiri walked out on the balcony of a house. Walked out on the balcony of a house in Kabul, Afghanistan. He lingered outside on the balcony, is what a US intelligence official had noted he often did. And on this Sunday morning, a US drone fired 2 Hellfire missiles at the Al-Qaeda leader as he stood, according to US officials, speaking on condition of anonymity to discuss the strike. His presence in Afghanistan has been widely speculated for some time. US officials learning this year that Zawahiri's wife and other family members had moved to a safe house in Kabul. Zawahiri soon followed. Our US officials were joined by top leaders all the way up to eventually Biden, who spent careful months confirming his identity and his fateful practice of standing alone on that same balcony. He stood on a balcony and he was taken out. Group Captain Augustine Vinod, if I can come to you to get your views on this entire operation and the way it was carried out.
See, the operation was a precision strike. I mean, there is a version of Hellfire, which is 9 Bravo. This is R9 Bravo. R9 Bravo, instead of explosives like Nupur covered, has blades all across. The main reason was that Hellfire missile was an overkill missile. In fact, there were attacks where you couldn't find a human remain for DNA analysis. It was that kind of a missile, and rightly brought out by Nupur, collateral damage was huge. So there was a movement to remove Hellfire missile from Predator drones altogether. But that would have costed them money, so instead they went and removed the warhead and put the blades, also known as the Ginzu, the flying Ginzu or whatever. But the major problem, if you remember during the Osama bin Laden's attack, was identifying Osama, which took them 120 days to identify, and they identified it through secondary means, not primary. Secondary means was that polio doctor went and got the DNA analysis of the children with whom they identified, yes, probably the tall man inside this safe hideout was Osama bin Laden indeed. But then they couldn't use Hellfire at that time because they wanted to confirm. In this case, Zawahiri made a mistake of coming to the balcony, and once you show your face, it is very, very easy for any intelligence organization to identify you because your face has typical identification points like nose, cheekbones, tip of your nose, etc., etc. Sorry? Yeah, Biden, okay.
Right, please continue, Dr. Group Captain Augustine. Please continue.
Yeah. So with these identification points, now it became easy for the intelligence agencies to identify him and take him down. But most important thing that we need to understand is the Predator drones are flying without any issues over the FATA regions as well as over Afghanistan because the air defense is missing. That is what our viewers need to understand. That Predator drone strike or any drone strike is only possible when there is no air defense. Such kind of attack over a contested area is impossible. So that is what we need to understand how important air power is for any country. I mean, Taliban has now come to power, but they are not investing enough in air power, which is why the US is having a field day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Stay with us. Dr. Raghav Sharma from the Jindal School of International Affairs is also with us. Dr. Raghav Sharma, I just wanted to ask you, what do you make essentially of how important is it for Joe Biden's domestic constituency as well? Because look at the statements that have come out from the US. We've had Kamala Harris come out and say, you know, we are standing by our commitment to protect American citizens wherever they may be. On the other side of it, obviously, you know, to go into a country with the protestations that we see from the Taliban now and actually take down an important target, that does send a signal to the world as well that the US is as strong as it has always been.
Well, I think it certainly is a short-term win for the Biden administration. It gives a boost in the arm for their claims of, carrying out counter-terrorism operations over the horizon. But it doesn't take away from the fact the US, withdrawal from Afghanistan was chaotic. It was humiliating, and it has dented American capability and credibility. It is one of the most significant strategic defeats that the United States has suffered. It also doesn't take away from the fact that, the Taliban have been violating several provisions of the so-called Doha deal. One significant provision of which was that they're going to break ties with all foreign terrorist networks. And there's been ample amount of evidence prior to this counter-terror drone strike that, the Taliban have not broken off ties, not just with the Al-Qaeda, but they host a plethora of other terrorist groups. So you have groups like the IMU, the Jamaat Ansarullah. Look at who the Taliban's chief of army staff is. It's Qari Fasihuddin, who is actually, a member of the Jamaat Ansarullah, and the Taliban essentially made him chief of army staff, who essentially co-opted him into the governing structure of the Taliban and denied. It gives them plausible deniability that we don't have foreign fighters. And, the fact that Zawahiri is being found in the heart of Kabul underscores the fact that, how shallow the Doha deal was and how naive it was to go on Taliban assurances that they're going to break ranks with foreign fighters. So yes, it gives a shot in the arm. Politically, it gives the Biden administration a little momentum, so to speak.
Yes.
But in the long run, I think it doesn't take away from the fact that, the Al-Qaeda is back in Kabul with full force, and that's a disturbing development.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Dr. Raghav Sharma, as well as Group Captain Vinod, thank you, both of you, for joining us. We are, of course, waiting for that address to come in from the US President Joe Biden.